And we're live. Welcome everybody here to the Lakers Lounge. I'm Anthony Irwin, once again joined after my brief radio hit on, I don't really know what station I just did that for. I am joined by Harrison Fagan, still recovering, the head injury survivor Harrison Fagan. We are going to be picking up the conversation from where we left off, and we were talking, Harrison, about the notion that the Lakers have simultaneously too thin a front office, yet too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And why that would lead to not just this coaching search, but the last one too. How like this, I think this specifically plagues the Lakers in this regard, where head coach isn't just a personnel thing. Head coach is somebody who deals with the front office, who speaks for the organization, and all of these things. Players don't necessarily do that. And I think that's why the Lakers have really kind of struggled to get this down, because I don't know if you guys remember what went into hiring Frank Vogel, but that was somehow even more disorganized than this has been.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess, look, people say that you're not positive enough about the Lakers. So I'll say it. They've improved from the last coaching search, I think.
Yeah.
It's been way less terrible than the last one.
Well, the last one. Because the last one, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, the last one was smoother than this. Okay. So, never mind. I take it back. They've regressed. But the last one, I think the guy was pretty obvious from the beginning, like who sort of the next coach in waiting was. There wasn't one of these like sort of big name coaches out there, like waiting for an offer, much like this time. But this time there's also not that like, hey, there's this clear-cut assistant who's like the next up guy. There's obviously some assistants who deserve merit and consideration and whatever, but there's no one at Darvin's level where it's considered just a matter of time before they get that next share. And I mean, we all saw how that worked out. So it just, goes to show media consensus, not always correct. But I do think that there's something to the idea that you're talking about, like there can be too many decision makers in a room, and being collaborative, as the Lakers front office, I think, has been described by just about everyone.
They describe themselves that way.
Yeah. Being collaborative can be a good thing, but it can also at times lead to seemingly a lack of direction. And I think that we're seeing sort of one of those times right now where it's great. It's a great skill set to be able to work with a lot of people positively, take a lot of different viewpoints into consideration and, whatever. I think that Rob seems to have that in spades. But I think that sometimes where Rob, I think you can criticize him, is that it's not really clear. Like, he is supposed to be the decider and the guy that makes that final call after taking many of those things in. And I am not sure that I always get the sense, just as, again, someone on the outside observing these decisions as they're made, that there's a whole lot of coherent vision coming from that top spot. It's more like, well, okay, how did the vote go? And, who's sort of, are we all like in enough of alignment, or is it at least, is it 5-3 so that we can sort of move on and make this decision type of thing? And I'm not sure that like we've ever, like, have you ever heard a story of Rob just being like, no, I'm making this call. This is what it's going to be?
No, I mean, he would never do that, because that would, if that call doesn't work out, then he
my point.
Takes the blame for it.
Exactly my point. And, we don't ever hear about that kind of stuff. Rob does not ever take credit for things when they work or when they don't work or whatever. When they work, he talks about how like he has a great ownership and, all this structure, whatever. And then when things don't work, it's like, well, we all did our best. But also here's this guy that we're firing because they are the most they left themselves the most politically unshielded. And so they're sort of getting the axe this time. But yeah. I mean, it is like a great self-preservation instinct. I'm less certain that it's a great GM quality.
Yeah, that last point, as far as like the less politically protected aspect of all of this is like kind of part of why the Lakers' job isn't as highly sought after or highly touted as maybe we would like to think, or that the Lakers themselves think.
Certainly than the Lakers themselves think, clearly.
Right. Like the Lakers keep on lowballing coaches because they think it's an honor to coach the Lakers. And I can understand why they feel that way because of their definition of Lakers exceptionalism, but that's not how a lot of these people who are in these coaching circles actually operate, where they're like, so wait, I'm going to go coach in one of the most high pressure jobs in the industry. I'm going to have very little control over even my own locker room at times. And when my GM screws up the roster, I'm always going to get the axe before. Like it's not even possible that he might even a meeting will take place where the owner asks the GM what the hell is going on.
And, I think also an under-discussed aspect of this is that, when the whole like Dan Hurley, lowball situation, discourse, whatever argument, that, Sean Keane and Joey Devine of the Round Rock Pod made like a great point, I thought, in that it's like, they offered him clearly like, a pretty big contract. It was six, it would have made him six high. People have gotten into the cost of living raises and whatever. But one thing that they didn't talk about is like, if you're offering someone that, you are also locking them in as currently the sixth highest paid head coach, in the league, when every single coach is getting a raise every single time that they come up for a thing for 6 years. You're locked in at that salary in this new market where, there's a good chance that by the end of that 6 years, there are 15 coaches more highly compensated than you, if you're someone like Dan Hurley. And, for JJ Redick, I mean, you're going to be more informed on this than I am. My guess is that they are not offering him the same offer that they were offering Dan Hurley, because Redick, like, frankly, just doesn't have that caliber of resume. And so if they're like, hey, this guy that has like bulletproof job security, just won back-to-back national titles, we're going to offer him like the sixth highest paid head coaching, contract in the NBA. For JJ Redick, what are they going to offer? Are they offering him the Darvin Ham contract?
Right. It's why, it's kind of a funny policy, but in the NFL, anytime a quarterback gets paid, they wind up being the highest paid quarterback ever. Like they keep on breaking the record in the NFL.
Well, it's the extension rules right now in the NBA. Jaylen Brown's the highest paid player of all time right now, or it was. And then Anthony Davis got the biggest yearly extension ever. And then soon Jason Tatum's going to get it. And it's just like a matter of like, the cap is rising. This is math. So whoever is up for that next maximum contract that is the most you can earn under the rules, if the percentages are bigger, then, those numbers are going to equal out into being bigger.
Right. And so George's is I think one of the more even keeled commenters that we have here on this channel. And he points out it was a good starting point. I can understand if it was not a blow me away offer. I guess the Lakers wanted a negotiation and see where Hurley really wanted it. They knew where he wanted it. He leaked it. Like
the Soda Man was trying to tell us the whole time.
Yeah, like I look, this is not me throwing shade at John Fanta. Like this is not. I truly.
I'm not. I just love the nickname, the Soda Man. The Soda Man.
It is great. It is fantastic.
Like, it's like when he drops a scoop, it's like, hey, you want a Fanta?
Yeah. Well, no, he definitely looks like somebody who says Fanta. He doesn't cross. He doesn't.
I mean, I don't know how it's pronounced. I've just read it, and like I just hear the song for.
Well, no, the commercial is wanna Fanta, wanna Fanta. But no, like white people say Fanta. My people say Fanta, and. I'm just saying it doesn't exactly anyway. But like I when that came across, when I saw that he was, when he put out the number there, $100 million offer, again, I've said this on the show a few times. I saw that, I reached out, I knew where he was getting that from because he has never reported on the Lakers before. He doesn't have those relationships. So clearly he's probably
I was going to say, seems like unlikely that is who the Lakers were choosing to like negotiate through the media with as their, but again, Rob, crazy like a fox. He's like, who are they going to clearly see as her? But then why did you not offer him that? If that's what the actual offer was going to come in as.
That part.
Again, another sign, probably not the Lakers leaking that.
Yeah. So I saw that number and I reached out to people who I know with the Lakers and I asked them, this is the big number. It's a big number for an organization that doesn't historically like to pay coaches, aside from Phil Jackson. And so I I I reached out and was given like a tentative or a hesitant yes, like sure, you know. And so I tweeted out in probably maybe two definitive terms that the Lakers were preparing an offer upwards or in the ballpark of $100 million. And that's why when the offer came out, when the offer finally leaked, you can actually see it on Woj's face that he was like pissed at the Lakers. That's the offer, you guys? Like, that's the. I'm sitting here talking
Rob,
about it like it's this like
come on, you did my
groundbreaking thing.
podcast.
Rob, and so like and
I
by the
didn't
way,
even personally report the PPP loan thing. Come on.
and so like and by the way, that was the response across the entire industry and across like all of the league circles that I have like been privy to, is that like that's the offer, that's the Godfather offer that takes him away from the opportunity to three-peat. Like that's what they think is going to pull him away from UConn. Look, you guys know me. I say it all the time. And for anybody who has seen Jen on the air, y'all know I outkicked my coverage. If Jen tells me that we are staying in Austin, guess what, Harrison? We are staying in Austin.
That's how you ended up in Austin. So yeah, I mean, I'm aware. Yeah.
Well, and now, like, because of the direction that my career is going in, I can feel the powers that be start to pull me back to the West Coast. So Jen and I started having that conversation. She's like, okay, if we go to the West Coast, I'm not effing working. And so I'm like, you realize how much money I have to make in order for you to not work. And like, I'm just saying, like, as a married man who is like, had these conversations with a wife that is far better looking than I am, that's just how it goes. Like, that's just how it goes. And I understand. I can relate. That's why I said on the show, like, I don't know if I'm not willing to go so far as to say that the offer that the Lakers made to I almost said John Fanta, that the offer that the Lakers made to Dan Hurley,
that would have been a way overpay. Again, all due respect to the guy. It's just like, you're not looking at the market, if you're paying a reporter,
Yeah.
Now a podcaster, that's worth a couple million, I think.
Yeah. But the offer, I wouldn't go so far as to say that it is outright a lowball offer, but I'd say that it's like lowball adjacent.
Considering the context, it's a lowball offer. I know Aaron disputed that on the show with you. I think
you didn't
that,
like
we
it.
have the
other
like perspective. I think given all of the context, around all of this, around, sort of his situation, around, what the Lakers theoretically should have to offer, given the value of the franchise and whatever, and given head coaching salaries just continually going up around the league, like, I think that we can fairly call it a lowball offer. And again, maybe it, to yours and George's points, maybe they were hoping that was the start of a negotiation, but it's very clear that Hurley had started the negotiation through the media and was like, maybe you could come in a little under that. And it's like, if you go into a salary negotiation, it's like, it's like, hey, like, I'm looking for this amount. And they're like, okay, well, we can only offer this amount. It's like, okay, well, you know what? I like you guys, so I'm willing to come down $5,000, whatever it may be. And then they're like, okay, yeah, we'll go up $1,000 from where we were, or whatever, whatever it may be. And like, for Hurley and the Lakers, like, you got to be closer to what he's asking for than a $30 million difference.
Right.
Or not 30, because I think it was like 8 years, 100 million or something was the offer. And then it was 6 for 70. So yeah.
Eight 100 was what I had heard. Yeah. Was like, the high range of what how high the Lakers were willing to go.
But again, that's 8 years of security, where that you're drawing that check and it's more money.
With like opt-outs and stuff like that, to where like you're talking about, he doesn't want to be locked into being merely the top 6th highest paid. Like, if this works out, he probably wanted outs to be the highest paid coach in the sport. But anyway, like, I don't know.
Pay him $1 more than whoever was the highest paid coach at the time.
I think that somebody actually has done that, right? Wasn't
I believe it was Kevin Garnett.
Yeah, over Dirk, right? Like, I think it was
over Alex Rodriguez, if I remember correctly. He held out for like $1 more to be like the highest paid athlete ever, or something like that at the time.
You might have that right.
I
I
could
know
be
that it has
misremembering.
happened before. No, I think Mike Trout
AG
did
saw
that
the
too.
extension and he's like, why would you show it to me if I can't have it?
Yeah. No, I think Roberto says it was Bill Russell over Wilt. I
And the
think that
dollar was a
also
big
happened.
raise back in those days. So, that he really
But like I think Mike Trout also did it over Bryce Harper. That like he wanted Bryce Harper to sign his contract, and then Mike Trout was like, I need bigger than that.
Yeah.
Correctly. Now, so all of this is to say that like the way that this is played out is, I think, very indicative of an organization that needs direction, right? Needs somebody at the top. Sorry, Jeannie, this is you, to step in and say, like, it's the scene from Winning Time where Dr. Buss stands on that desk and says, what the fuck are we doing here? What are we trying to? We are trying to be the greatest ever. And that's when like that's actually kind of a perfect moment to contextualize all of this, right? Where again, I've always said this, that like there are two definitions of Lakers exceptionalism. The positive one is that everybody associated with the Lakers is held to an exceptional standard. That's when the Lakers operate in the way that we expect the Lakers to operate. The negative version of Lakers exceptionalism, and I think it's the way that the Lakers currently operate, is that the Lakers believe that because they are the Lakers, they are therefore inherently exceptional. And that is what the Lakers need to get away from. And like when you see that Dan Hurley offer, that is another example of like, what are you talking about? That's a fine offer. You're leaving fucking Connecticut. You're going to come coach the Lakers. Be happy that we're giving you this offer. And Dan Hurley's like, you realize what I've built over here? I need you a lot less than you need me.
Yeah.
And he turned him down. And that's the part of this that like, because of how insulated the Lakers are, they don't necessarily take that feedback into account. They just think,
no, it's like, well, that
fuck Hurley, he's a hater.
He doesn't know what it means to be a Laker, and so we don't want him anyway.
Yeah. The next thing that we have to talk about here before we get out of here is the coaching
reasons that the things that the Lakers could be negotiating over still.
I legitimately like.
I mean, you've negotiated more contracts than me, so I mean, you can tell me like how realistic this is. Do you think JJ is trying to keep ownership of the pod feed? Like, is that the final stipulation in the contract? When
that's not even on the table.
Old Man in the Three, becomes the official Lakers podcast. It's
that's
like JJ,
that's not
Aaron Larsoul, Mike Trudell.
No, that's not even a like, that's not even on the table. Like, the Lakers could say, like, hey, can we help monetize your podcast? JJ's like, I got that. We're good there.
Yeah.
But like, I do think eventually we'll probably see, like, remember what they did with the Green Room, where Danny Green's podcast all of a sudden became like something that happened on the or was it Road Trip? I think both.
No,
right?
Road Trip. Yeah, it was both. Both were televised on Spectrum for a while. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we'll probably see that also broadcast on Spectrum, even though it won't be a Spectrum production per se. That they'll boost that presence or whatever. I think that's something that will probably happen. But no, the next thing
he's podcasting when he coaches the Lakers, I feel like there's no way, right?
Why wouldn't he?
I mean, I've been joking about it and whatever, but like being a coach takes a lot of time.
Yeah, it doesn't take 24 hours.
It's not like being like when people criticize the player pods, it's like, yeah, that's stupid. These guys have like 12 hours of like off time every single day, because it's like, how much do you expect them to work out and like watch film? And I mean, maybe 12 hours is over exaggerating, but they have more free time than most employed people have. Athletes do, but coaches do not work a 9 to 5, where it's like, hey, I'll get the podcast done, when I get off work.
I think Revived makes a good point. He also can't talk about other teams' players, so that makes talking about this tricky. Though, look, the people who help, like I know some, like Jason Gallagher.
Are the Lakers negotiating in? We will pay your tampering fine so that you can keep the podcast going.
Yeah, they have like a tampering budget.
Yeah.
No, so Old Man in the Three one of like I don't know his official position over there, but like one of the key people that JJ hired is a guy named Jason Gallagher. He worked at the Ringer. I have become very friendly with him over the years, and
Source?
like huh?
Is he the one? Did he tell you it's done?
Yes, he's like yeah, JJ's gone. No, he actually helped me with like the he didn't help set up the graphic or anything like that, but he was like, hey, in terms of like look of a show, I think this makes sense for you. And I showed him kind of like the outline of what people would see on YouTube. And he liked what that looked like. But anyway, I was talking about the JJ Redick's setup and Old Man in the Three and that entire production company. I can guarantee you that the people who are helping him on the creative side of things could make it so that JJ's lift isn't that crazy and continue things running very, very smoothly while JJ is the head coach.
That is
of the
so
league.
fun. I refuse to believe that he's going to continue podcasting as a head coach. Like, again, it's one thing for players. There's no way he's going to have time. And also, to say nothing of like the tampering aspect of it, where like, maybe he could do Mind the Game and it's just him and LeBron like breaking down Lakers film. But then you start to get into the point of like, okay, are you giving away like I know everyone can watch basketball and has people that watch basketball, but if you have the head coach and either the best or second best player on the team sitting down every week and they're like, hey, let's watch film together and sort of give our thoughts on it, that's not helping the other team. Like,
all right, so if JJ leaves Old Man in the Three and they risk a very legitimate hit to what that production company is doing, do you know how much money the Lakers would have to pay him to make up for that risk? I don't think the Lakers have that in their budget. Like,
well, we just maybe found out, why this is taking so long.
No, you're not wrong. No, it very much crossed my mind the first time around when it looked like it was really moving in that direction. It really crossed my mind. I'm not going to go so far as
maybe him and LeBron can do like a movie podcast
before I get myself in trouble, huh?
That maybe him and LeBron can just do like a movie podcast.
LeBron said like
I think like 8 tweets about the Bad Boys movie. Maybe like him and JJ just like they just do their own like rewind and reconsider, and instead of watching film, they're watching films.
Yeah. Ooh, solid plug there. Well done, Harrison. Yeah. I do want to talk about the coaching staff because I think this I think pretty good intel on the direction that this is potentially heading, and also I think it's going to provide some real insight into how this relationship might look moving forward. Now, again, I am operating under the conclusion that JJ Redick is going to be the head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers, and the names that I mentioned here are going to be, listed in terms of or named in terms of like, under the context of like how well would they work with JJ Redick and why the Lakers would prioritize or what the Lakers would prioritize on a JJ Redick staff. So if JJ Redick or when JJ Redick is the head coach, the number one thing that the Lakers are going to prioritize with that number two guy, his lead assistant is going to be NBA coaching experience. It just has to be. So Terry Stotts and Scott Brooks come to mind there. From there, things get really tricky really quickly because you have Sam Cassell moving up a seat in Boston after winning a championship and the pay raise that comes with that. You have Jared Dudley getting the pay raise that comes with getting a team all the way to the finals in Dallas. You have James Borrego taking the gig, I'm being told, in Cleveland. So not going to hire him as an assistant.
I mean, the only way he comes is if it's like Kenny Atkinson in Cleveland, right? I mean, that's the only way that seems like realistic.
Yeah, but Kenny Atkinson must be a terrible interviewer because he's always listed as like the leading candidate and then not getting
also gig. I mean, he did renege on a team before
There's also that.
like
Yeah.
like where they're like,
There's
hey,
that
we have
reputation.
leaked that we have decided to hire this guy, and then it was basically like he's like, wait, you're picking my assistants? Never mind, I'm staying with the Warriors.
Yeah, right. So I don't think Atkinson is on the board for the Lakers because he's already the number 2 in Golden State, and the Warriors pay their assistant coaches more than the Lakers do.
I think I think them and the Clippers are among like the highest in that
Yeah,
regard.
and the Lakers are among the lowest. Like they don't have the best
Yeah,
reputation in this regard. And then
unless you're Jason
so
Kidd.
A name
Other
that
than
a
that,
name that popped into my head today, though, like and I wrote about this actually for Lakers Daily. A name that popped into my head, and I'm told that there is some kind of mutual interest here, is actually Miles Simon. It's really rare that an assistant coach outlasts a head coach, and that's what happened with Miles Simon and Luke Walton, where Luke Walton brought him in on his staff. Luke Walton gets fired, and then Miles Simon stays.
he was the only holdover. He was the only guy
Yeah,
that remained. Basically,
yeah,
because they kept him to run the draft workouts, essentially.
yeah,
Because
and
they
then
knew
and
that it was
then
going to be a while before they hired a coach, and that they had underestimated maybe how long it was going to take.
and then they were, and then he impressed Frank Vogel, and Frank Vogel kept him on his staff, and the Lakers kind of told him like, "Hey, can we keep him on your staff?" Um,
And then Frank
Simon
brought him to Phoenix.
also coached the yeah, that's a good point. Again, Vogel really likes Miles Simon. Miles Simon is very well regarded in league circles.
Yeah.
Um, he also coached the South Bay Lakers. I think they were the South Bay
Yeah.
Lakers already at that
No,
time.
they were. Yeah, he was head coach of the South Bay Lakers, and then like a part-time assistant with the Lakers, like basically only for home games.
Yeah, and then obviously was there for the championship, and yeah, he's a name that came up, and when he kind of crossed my mind, I kind of asked around if this is a possibility, and I've been told that there could be some mutual interest there. So he makes a lot of sense there, right? He does have prior experience with the Lakers. I think LeBron and AD really liked having him around for that championship run as well. So I think he is somebody who comes to mind there. But my point here, beyond even Miles Simon, is that like by waiting as long as they have to hire a head coach, your assistant coaching options aren't great. Most of these guys already have their next gig figured out, and either you're going to have to overpay to get them away from their current gig, or you're going to have to try to make it work with some other guys who are just available right now, and that makes it even more tricky when you're hiring assistant coaches for a first-time coach, not just first-time head coach, but first-time coach. And that's part of the difficult position that the Lakers have put themselves in by waiting up until by the time this airs in the morning, it's going to be a week away from the draft. Like we're a week from the draft already, and the Lakers still don't have a head coach, let alone that coach's assistant coaching staff. Again, Harrison, like I don't know, you've covered enough of these things. You and I have been doing this for far too long. When you started, you had hair. When I started, I had one fewer chin. Like we've been doing this for a really long time.
Not sure either that's really true, but
No, I think that's true.
I,
I at least like when I
the
looked
hair
up,
was
you didn't
already
see jiggle.
the hair was on its way away.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like I want to know from like your perspective. You've now watched multiple coaching searches with this ownership slash front office. You've watched multiple off seasons with this ownership slash front office. Like I don't know. Give me like a scouting report. Like how do you feel about how well the Lakers are run right now, given what we know about all this stuff?
Well, I mean, I think my points from the entire podcast would make, make it pretty clear that I feel like the answer is not all that well, and not all that organized. And, I mean, to sort of your your point on like the coaching thing and how weird it is like you brought up Miles Simon making it through the last transition and sort of being there someone to run the draft workouts. Like, as far as I can tell, that's just South Bay Lakers coaches doing that right now, because on the Lakers actual official roster page, like, last time it was like, oh, the Lakers have let go of Luke Walton and all his staff, and then it was like, well, Miles Simon actually ended up like sort of sticking around. He was under contract, they kept him on, whatever. There is no one on the Lakers website listed under coaches right now. They took that section out of the roster page, where it was previously. And so, there is, and to some degree, like, you can argue that that's like probably the right decision in a vacuum. Like, that's again, like many of the things that they do, that is a justifiable decision. It's like, well, we don't want to be seen as like sticking the coach with, people that they don't want or whatever, talking in the, I saw someone ask in the comments about like, why Phil Handy wasn't brought back and why he's not still around. It's like, well, I mean, I think it's hard to survive like 2 head coaches and make it to your 3rd with the same team. And also he clearly like wanted the head job and, whatever. And it's also like you're clearing the decks for that person to come in and hire whoever they want. And maybe at that point they decide, JJ decides like, hey, I want to bring back Phil Handy. I think that he's great. I think that he can help us. I think that he would help in the room. And, maybe they get that done. But, I mean, the one thing working in their favor is that, I mean, number one, there's a lot of people that want to be NBA assistant coaches. And so that sort of allows them to get regularly mistreated by many teams and sort of discarded pretty quickly and, constantly moving around the country. It's not like a great fun. I mean, I'm sure it's a fun job in some ways, but, it's not a job with a lot of security. And so there are a lot of candidates out there, I think. And so to me, it's justifiable the way that they've handled like this specific aspect of it, because it's not just like there's not like a clear head coach, guy that, oh no, if you wait, you're going to let this guy get away and, he's going to take a better offer. I'm not sure that there's, these assistant coaches on the market where it's like, oh man, if they don't hire Redick soon, he's not going to be able to come to terms with so-and-so. I mean, like, I'm not aware of that person that's like clearly, it's like Terry Stotts. Like, yeah, I mean, I guess maybe you lose him to a lead assistant gig somewhere else, but also like he just quit the Bucks because he didn't like the situation there. And so, it's like he's going to clearly, as a guy that values like wanting to find the right situation, is that sort of being the experienced vet for an inexperienced head coach. Well, he thought so with Adrian Griffin until Adrian Griffin was, an asshole to him in front of the entire team regularly. And so maybe that's something where he feels like he can come in and help JJ in that respect and sort of help him find his footing. Again, maybe someone like Stan Van Gundy, a former coach of JJ, is like someone like I can come into the room and like I can sort of provide the institutional know-how of someone that has like I've run a team before, so I can help you sort of make these day-to-day delegation decisions and walk you through these processes and figure out how to get organized and do these things that you've just you've been around as a player but you've never actually had to do before. And so someone like Steve Clifford, I know he just retired from Hornets head coaching, and I think he's like moving into their front office, but maybe that's someone that, you go after as like they didn't want to lead the team, make all the decisions anymore, but they're willing to come in and sort of help out and consult and things like that. And, you're always going to be able to find like the former player that wants to get in and, to be able to have that sort of voice in the room or whatever. Like, obviously it would be great, I think, for them to bring Dudley back. He's someone with a lot of experience, but I sort of doubt that the new Mavs ownership gets outbid for him if that's somebody that Jason Kidd wants to keep around. Like, they're just significantly richer than the Buss family. And so I think that if Dudley is happy there and if Jason Kidd wants to keep him, I don't see him leaving. And so that's less of a concern to me. Again, you're looking at people like, maybe it's Rondo, maybe it's, insert former player, recently retired player X, Y, or Z. But again, I don't, to me, there are a lot of things to criticize them for. And I think the lack of sort of both we've decided on something and we're very clearly working towards this, but also like we're sort of just going to let it slide and take our time and, not really have a whole lot of direction about it and sort of look for any reason to be talked out of this decision that we've all sort of collectively be made. Like, you can criticize a lot of that stuff, but I think as far as the assistant coaching stuff goes, that bothers me less.
Yeah, it's not that I'm necessarily bothered by the assistant coaching thing. It's just that like we always talk about how many of the decisions that the Lakers make seem to make sense in a vacuum.
Yeah.
This player was a deal in a vacuum. This player was a deal in a vacuum. Can you believe this guy was available for this number?
Look at all these discounts they got at the 6'4" combo guard store. Unbelievable.
Harrison, you can tell we've been doing this for a while.
Rob shops at Costco for combo guards, He's like, oh my God. He's like, he's like, I couldn't not sign Malik Monk and Kendrick Nunn. Did you see the prices? They're practically giving these guys away.
It's like, actually, we found out that combo guards are actually like not a great thing in the NBA nowadays.
I'm going to go ahead and say it. Not the new Moneyball, I think.
No, I don't think, like, remember how all of a sudden, man, shoot, I'm saying on the air, however many years ago, that I thought that like the most important role player that a team could have is a 3-and-D wing, and how like slowly but surely, like the league wound up not confirming my bias there, but like, not that I was ahead of everybody there, but like the league started realizing like, oh shit, like we all need these 3-and-D wings. I feel like the combo guard is the opposite of that. Or like, remember how Roy Hibbert just all of a sudden was out of the league? Like,
yeah,
he was just like gone.
And
And
just like,
I
yeah,
feel
like unathletic Rudy Gobert that can't move, that doesn't work. Sorry. Like,
yeah. And so like, I feel like, you know, the Lakers are kind of slow to the uptake there. And I think that's what happens when, again, like, not only are the Lakers,
well, you're run by an
crew,
agent who has for decades looked at basketball through the lens of what kind of
buckets.
guy can get me the biggest bonus on this next contract, the biggest
Yeah.
percentage, and what type of guy is going to maybe, you know, score a bunch of buckets and get a big bag. You know, those are not
Yeah.
typically the role players.
Right. And yeah, I just look at, I look at the Lakers right now as especially like Raj always, basically anytime Raj and I record, we always talk like for like a good like hour afterward, because he's just asking questions about the industry and about like the way that the sausage is made, and
Oh, I
the
assume just
information
about
that I get.
life. He's like, it's like, so what's the
No,
beach like?
he's actually asking a lot about movies. Like he's like
Like,
really, he just saw The Godfather.
he's like, I
But
just
so
watched The Godfather. New York City, is that a place you can go?
yeah.
Is that still there?
Yeah, it's right there. And so, but like one of the things that I'll always say is like, you know, I'll offer up what information I have. And again, I tell you guys all the time that the information I have and the information any of these reporters tend to have is incomplete information. We aren't making these decisions. We are trying to relay the information that we have. But anyway, I'll relay that information to Raj, and he'll just say like, "Ugh, this feels kind of gross." And it's like, yeah, that's what happens when you watch sausage get made. Like, that's how it goes. And one of the things here that like I have learned is in covering the Lakers for as long as I have, and now like, you know, doing the reporting thing, learning more about the way that the Lakers operate. It's just like, ugh, I wish I hadn't seen how the sausage was made.
It's been great for me
Yet,
to
like,
get away. It's restored my fandom. Like,
yeah,
I'm not interacting with anyone around. It's like I just watch the games and root for the
I can't
team.
unsee
And
it though. Like, I can't unsee what that sausage looks like, you know, like having seen it made.
well,
And
I had the same problem until I suffered a traumatic head injury, and now I
oh
literally
no,
do not
wiped it out.
recover. So
You're like
yeah,
an Etch a Sketch. Like,
yeah, exactly.
no, I've taken up too much of your time, Harrison, and I've taken up too much of, frankly, this audience's time. This is now the second 40-minute episode that we have done here tonight. I'll just say this as we are signing off. Again, I still stand by the information that I reported earlier today that JJ Redick is going to be the guy.
Can you cross your arms and say you're standing on business?
Yeah, like
I think
this.
the people. Yeah, exactly.
Like that. I'll
And like
back
put on
up a little bit.
sunglasses. Do you have sunglasses handy?
No.
It's like Anthony dunks on Hader or Shams Charania and shows up Pat McAfee by ripping off his sleeves and revealing a tank top.
Yeah. I am standing on business, and Shams is a tiny little man who doesn't want to see me in these streets.
What's funny is I've heard he's very nice, like like I've never
He
interacted
very
with
much
him or
is.
like
I've
heard he's very nice, like and like a great like coworker and everything, and so it's gonna be funny.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna laugh if he comes up to you at Summer League and he's like, "Hey, do we have a problem, bro?
No, what's funny
Did
is
I do
that, like,
something to you?"
it's funny. As of like last week, I was technically, by way of proxy, Team Shams, because Woj went out there and lied about the stuff that
that's a good
Shams
call,
and I
actually.
and
Like,
everybody
so
was reporting.
that was the last thing that I wanted to talk to you about today, was in the Cold War between Woj and Shams's, like, USSR versus USA, like, what nation does that make you in this scenario?
So Woj, I mean, I guess I'm Switzerland. Like, am I?
No,
like
you're some proxy battle in the conflict. I'm just gonna let you pick it so
Oh.
that you can choose how you get canceled.
Yeah, I'm just gonna stand with Switzerland because it keeps me uncanceled. But like, all right, no, so this is what's funny, Harrison. This is what I've been getting a lot all day. Por la vida writing, we know he's gonna be it, but you jumped the gun. Shams would rock you. Like what? What are we doing here? like, look. Here's the information I have, everybody. There you go. Again, and by the way, when this gets announced, because it's going to be announced, it's going to be JJ. Like, what does that mean? Everybody's going to apologize for calling me a fraud? Is that how this works?
No, because everyone knew that. So
yeah. Anyway, all right, that is going to do it here for this episode.
Look, I will say you have staked your credibility to this. It's not like everybody afterwards that's just like, this is the way the wind is heading, whatever. Like, you've said, my sources are telling me this is done. And it's just a matter of time, it is going to happen. And, I respect you standing on business and telling Shams that he can acquire these hands at the deadline,
I sincerely hope you make the trip to Vegas this year, Harrison, just to see.
I'm definitely not now. This is a man, like, his reporting is usually so bulletproof that, like, he could, if he tweeted out, he's like, sources inform me that Harrison Fagan has died, I'd be a little worried. Like, seeing the tweet, I'm like, wait, I'm alive, but what does he know?
Yeah, I don't know. Shoot, we got a super comment here, right?
Oh no, we have to play this comment telling you that you did a good job.
Gorilla asks, why does Lakers Reddit hate you so much? I think you do a good job. Look, I criticize the Lakers. I criticize their favorite team. That's why people hate me. Like, it's really basically it. It maybe at some point in the offseason when there isn't so much going on, I can go into, like, I know people want to hear me talk about those screen capped Kobe tweets or whatever. Maybe eventually I'll talk about that, but I don't want to do that right now when there's actually Lakers stuff to cover. Like,
that could be a story time with Raj where you explain to him,
Yeah, I don't matter enough to try to, like, while the Lakers are hiring a head coach, and while we wait for LeBron James to make his player option decision, and while we wait for the Lakers to fill out their roster and try to catch up to the Celtics winning championship 18, I think I would be the most vain and narcissistic person ever to try to be like, all right, here on this episode of the Lakers Lounge podcast, here is why I was, here's why I sent those tweets that I obviously regret to this day. Nobody needs that episode right now. Maybe in August when there isn't anything going on, I'll talk about that stuff. But until then, and until we get through all of the news that gets us to that point, I am Anthony Irwin. That is Harrison Fagan. And this has been this episode of the Lakers Lounge podcast. Check out part 1, which is also already live on YouTube. And both episodes will be airing here in the morning. Have a good one, everybody.